So we have three tremendous people with us for the conversation today up here on stage. I'd first like to welcome Tom Ricketts, who literally fell in love with Chicago sports. He met his wife in the bleachers, as many people know. His family then went on to buy the Cubs, and he's now been focused principally on three key goals: being a great neighbor on the north side, revitalizing and orienting Wrigley Field to the future, and bringing the Chicago Cubs a World Series. Please welcome Tom Ricketts. Also with us for the conversation is Michael Reinsdorf. If Tom Ricketts fell in love with Chicago sports, Michael Reinsdorf grew up with Chicago sports as a son of Jerry Reinsdorf. He had a front row seat to the operations and successes and ups and downs and the triumphs of the White Sox and the Bulls. He went on to own sports franchises, minor league franchises in hockey and baseball. He's now president and chief operating officer of the Chicago Bulls. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Reinsdorf. And finally, if Tom fell in love with Chicago sports and Michael grew up with Chicago sports, I think our next guest is Chicago sports, or at least he is to my 7-year-old son, who on Sunday afternoons and Saturday afternoons goes deep in our backyard for passes where he catches as Brandon Marshall, number 15 from the Chicago Bears. Brandon Marshall is coming to the stage. Thank you. And I should say that in addition to his tremendous talent on the field, which we've all seen, his great hands, his ability to break tackles and run after the catch, his great leaping ability, he is also one of the most stylish athletes I've ever met. So stylish, in fact, that the NFL fined him more than $5,000 last week during the New York Giants game. Did anybody see his cool lime green cleats? All in an effort to raise awareness for Mental Health Awareness Week. So please join me in welcoming all three gentlemen to the stage. Great. So this is a question for all of you, but Michael, I'll start with you as somebody who is somebody who has seen franchises in this town for a long time and has been elsewhere to run teams. What is it about Chicago and sports? What is it about sports that makes this such an important part of Chicago's culture?
Well, I think a lot has to do with when I was growing up, there weren't too many good teams in Chicago. Between the Cubs and White Sox and Bears, there weren't too many playoff games. And so it was kind of a pent-up, demand, energy. And so when the White Sox finally broke through in '83 to make the playoffs, and then the next year the Cubs in '84, all of a sudden it went from a city where it was okay to just have a decent team to where winning became really important. And then, of course, someone made reference to the '85 Bears, and I would like the Bears to win another Super Bowl so we can stop hearing about the '85 Bears. But that's what's so incredible about Chicago. It's just it used to be a city of where teams didn't win, and now it's really a city of champions. And what I see what the Cubs are doing and building up the farm system, and it scares me a lot because of the White Sox, but it's just a great sports town.
Tom, what's it look like from somebody who is owning the Cubs on the north side and the deep culture that surrounds this franchise?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think that really amazes me, and I'm surprised every day. As I go to all the games and I spend about 4 or 5 innings walking through, just talking to random people all over the park, and what I always take away from that is the depth of the passion that people have for the team. It's easy to talk about the number of Cub fans that exist, and you know that because of our national TV contract, we have fans all over the country, and you see Cub hats all over. But the thing that continues to amaze me here 4 years in is just the depth of the passion the fans have, and how it's so woven into the fabric of their family and to how they feel about our city.
I mean, this is a team for which fans will name their own children. I mean, they'll name their children, Addison. They'll name their dog Ridgely.
I meet a lot. I meet a lot of those. I meet a lot of Addisons. I meet a lot of Clarks. I mean, there's a lot out there.
Yeah. So, what do you attribute that to? Really, the depth of the passion.
Well, I think that I think the Cubs have something that's really special. And it's not just that it's a baseball team. It's a baseball team that's wrapped in history of its ballpark. And that ballpark sits in a neighborhood that people like to come to. So I think the whole package just kind of raises it to a different level than a lot of sport teams get to. And I think that there's this kind of we're all in this together kind of attitude that the fans have that just really and make that passion as deep as any sports team could be.
Brandon, you grew up in Central Florida. You also spent time, obviously, with the Broncos, and Denver's a huge football town. You spent time in Miami with the Dolphins. What's different about Chicago, if anything?
Everything.
Really?
Absolutely everything, and you hit it on the head. It's really about the people. You know, that's the thing that really amazes me. You know, sometimes it's tough being a celebrity, especially in a big city, a big market. And there's days where I put on a hoodie, a hat, some glasses, and I'll walk out, and everyone knows me still. So that's the cool part about playing here is the expectation level. And as a champion, as a competitor, it feels good when you go to work or you step outside your doors, and the city really has the same expectations as yourself.
Yeah. You have been extremely active off the field as well. With mental illness issues, raising awareness of your own story and trying to bring resources and attention to others. You've also been involved in after-school programs in other cities that you played in. Why is that important to you? What's the relationship between the athlete and the community in which he or she plays?
Well, there's a few things. You know, it's funny now. I go to work, and a lot of times I'm dressed up, and you know, there's been a transformation in my life, and in the sports world, guys don't understand it. You know, there was a guy on our team just the other day. I said, why don't you wait to do that work when you're done with ball? And I got to thinking, and for me, it's when I'm done with football, I don't want to look back and say, thank you, man, my run was great. I want to look back and say, thank you, football, for propelling me into my purpose and my dream, and now life starts. This is just a start for me. And I always say, man, football is my platform, not my purpose. And I truly believe, and it's such an amazing opportunity to sit on this panel with you guys. And when you look at Chicago's Ideas Week, it's pretty cool because we all have a part. And I always tell people, I'm just trying to do my part. You know, now I'm not an inventor, I'm not an artist, but my part is to bridge the gap in the mental health community. So, yeah, it's just been an amazing experience and a great start. We just hired, you know, our CEO, Louis Correa, to run our foundation. What an innovative, strong trailblazer that we have, and things are starting to take shape.
And what do you want to see happen in the mental health space, especially as we talk about those of us who may have family members, may just be everyday citizens who aren't directly affected, whatever the case? What do you want us to do?
Well, it affects all of us. It hits on both ends of the spectrum. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, woman, or male. Young, old, it hits all of us. It's 1 in 4 of us, you know, suffer from something. And for me, short term, I would love just to have the conversation, the dialogue, and I think, you know, our country is ready for it. So short term, we just want to advocate and raise awareness. But long term, I mean, there's things we want to walk the halls of Congress. We want to build better treatment facilities. We want to treat the treaters. You know, there's a lot of physicians out there, clinicians, who don't even know how to diagnose, you know, or give a proper clinical evaluation. And for me, it saved my life.
Your diagnosis came late in life, right?
Well, no. Actually, I'm lucky. You know, it was a few years ago. I mean, it depends on who you're asking. I'm at the time.
but not as a young child.
Yeah. So borderline personality disorder was something that you know, I had to work through, and you know, now we're advocating for it. But you know, I spent 5 years, you know, really being irresponsible with this platform that I was given. And, you know, probably if I would have continued on that road another year, I'd probably have been out of the NFL and no telling what would have happened to me. And, you know, so for me, it's important for me to use my story to, you know, really create conversation, create change, really try to look at legislation, look at insurance coverage. I mean, there's so much we want to do, and I think we have the people and definitely the city behind us to do it.
Michael, how do you think about the role for the athletes who are part of the Chicago Bulls organization and the team itself when it comes to its relationship with the community, around issues, around bricks and mortar, whatever?
I think it's really important. I don't know if people remember Charles Barkley, but he had a commercial that said that he wasn't a role model. And it really kind of, to me, it was disgusting because these kids out there in the city, they don't want to hear from guys like myself or Tom. They want to hear from Brandon. I mean, the players have so much credibility, and whether they won't like it or not, the fans, the people out there, they listen to them. So they have a great opportunity to do it while they're actually playing and while they're in Chicago. I think it's imperative that our players get involved in the community. And for us, it's easy because our players, and you probably know some of these guys, they're all out there. They all have their own little thing that they want to do, and violence prevention is a big thing, health and wellness. They're out there, and then they understand their role as professional athletes.
Yeah, I know that professionals, franchises are in the business of winning first and foremost, but it seems that the Bulls in particular have taken a harder look to make sure that it's a right fit with the culture, and that these are players who are going to work hard, not just on the court but off. What goes into how you think about who you're bringing in and the role that community engagement might play in all of that?
Well, I think where teams get in trouble, all sports teams, is when you think by bringing this one or two guys, and that they're somewhat suspect, but they're heck of athletes, and they can, this guy will average 8 rebounds, but they don't realize the damage they can do inside the locker room, and that locker room is so important, right? I mean, having that team effort together, one guy in the plane goofing around or not caring after a loss could just throw the whole thing out of whack. So for us, we made some mistakes, certainly after Michael retired, and we've decided in recent years we're just going to get quality guys, and that's what we've done. We've just gotten quality players.
Tom, community has lots of meanings, but a very acute one when it comes to the neighborhood in which Wrigley Field finds itself, and you've been working on the expansion and renovation plans at Wrigley Field. What are the philosophies that have guided you as you've tried to actually navigate those difficult neighborhood and political waters at times?
Well, when we had our first press conference on the team, one of the things we said is we want to be a better neighbor. And we do mean for the entire Chicagoland area. We do mean for raising money and helping people all over the city. But we're actually in a neighborhood too, a real neighborhood. And so as we looked at what we were going to do with Wrigley Field and with the land we have around Wrigley Field, it was always put through the filter of, what does that do for the neighbors? And what can we do more for the people that live around us? And so I think that the proposals that we're pushing forward, and hopefully we'll get started on pretty soon here, will really raise the quality of life, not just for fans coming on game day, but for people that live in the neighborhood on non-game days.
Yeah, we've seen some of the design concepts, and I think many people here are familiar with the broad outlines, but go beyond that. If we go out 5-10 years, what's the vision for what Wrigley Field and the experience should be like for fans, for neighbors, for visitors?
Well, we look at our opportunity at Wrigley to make it the town square of the north side, if not the whole city. 81 days a year, we want that to be the best experience that anyone can have in sports. And that starts when you get off the L or when you get out of your cab or when you walk up to the park. We want to have the area around the park welcome you and give you all the options that you want on game day. But the real key is on non-game day. We want to make sure that it's a place where people want to come, whether it's for the farmer's market or for the ice rink or some other kind of low-impact neighborhood or community event, have a 5K, those kind of things. We want people to think of Wrigley as really the town square of the city.
Yeah. All of you are engaged in efforts to go after championships and at various parts of that rebuilding process. I want to hear from each of you about, as you look to the future of the team, and then I want to take it out to future of professional sports. But Brandon, Mark Trestman, first year as a new head coach.
Yeah.
You guys got off to a 3-0 start. You're at 4-2 now. As that coaching staff is assembled, what's going on behind the locker room as you guys talk about what your vision is for this season and beyond, what you're trying to build there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just business. I mean,
Really?
That's Coach Trestman. He's definitely a guy that's business-minded, and when you come to work, you know what it's about. Sometimes you can get in the locker rooms and it's a joke. You got guys doing their own thing, and to win championships, you need all the guys in the building, staff included, buying into one goal. One team, one goal, one vision, and I think that we have that definitely. And there's going to be times where you have one or two guys, that's not on board. But when you have a great group of guys, great leaders, it's okay. You can overcome that. For us, we have the ability and the guys and to really make a move this year. You know, you look at, you know, what's going on the offense side of the ball, changing things up, protecting Jay. That's where it starts. And defense, you know, they're a little banged up, but you know, those guys are monsters. You know, and you know, you put all that together with a great coaching staff. You know, we have a chance.
Yeah, we got to get you the ball more, though.
Yeah. Hey, always, always.
But I'm curious to know, though, you said business. It's
Yeah.
all business with Mark Trestman. So as a leader, what has he done to sort of get that mood going in the locker room?
You know what? Just his demeanor, his character, and it's a trickle-down effect. You know, one of the
How
things,
he runs workouts?
Well, you know what? It's just, you know, it's, I mean, down to every minute. You know, he'll say, hey, guys, you have 3 minutes and 30 seconds, you know, to be back. You know, I mean, everything's down to the second, to the minute, you know. It's really, really cool. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Coach is how he's trying to build relationships. You know, so there's some times where he say, hey, let's cut off the music and let's talk. You know, hey, let's keep the doors open so, you know, we can all come together. Or, hey, guys, the coach's locker room is open to you guys. You know, so come on in anytime you want. And so it's been pretty cool, and it's been working.
Yeah, one quick question on this, too. What do you think the biggest misconception is, or the thing that most fans or members of the media fail to understand about what life is like for professional athletes and coaches like that?
It's, I mean, it's not just for professional athletes, but it's also, you know, the guys, we call them the suits.
We're just talking.
They're the suits. The guys with the big briefcases. No, you know what? It's tough. Yeah. It's a high pressure business, and on both ends of it, man. It's nonstop. And you know, if you don't have the right balance in your life, man, it can overwhelm you, and it can consume you to a point where it's unhealthy. So sometimes people put pressure on guys, not understanding that, man, we're doing our best, and it's a 24/7 job. So I would say that would be it.
Michael and Tom, on this point really quickly, what do you think that we as fans or members of the media don't always fail to understand or appreciate about even your roles?
Well, I think sometimes fans think that we don't really have a plan. And the problem is, I don't blame them, because we can't really spell out everything. There's certain inside information that we know about. You know, I look at the Derrick Rose situation last year, and people after the season said, in retrospect, don't you wish you had said that he wasn't going to play the whole year? And I said, well, none of us knew that, including Derrick. I mean, it was an injury that he could have come back in 10 months, could be 12 months. No one really knew. The problem was that you had Adrian Peterson coming back after 8 months, and you know, I have no idea how he did it. But the point is that we were on the same page with Derrick the whole time, and you know, the media kind of took it and ran with it, and then you know, all of a sudden it became a huge story. And you know, I kind of felt bad for Derrick, because knowing Derrick, he's a great kid who cares so much about the city of Chicago. I mean, you know, he lives for the city of Chicago, and you know, he got a lot of criticism, and you know, I give him a lot of credit for you know, not lashing back and just taking it and understanding that, hey, it's the fans' right, because if they're not passionate, then they're not coming to our games. So we want that passion, even sometimes it doesn't exactly, you know, side with the way we're thinking.
Yeah, even when it creates some temporary
That's
headaches.
okay. At least they're talking about us.
Well, you have Derrick Rose back on the floor now, so look out to this year and beyond. How close are you in your journey to bring home another NBA championship?
Well, I think.
I can answer that. Can I answer that?
Sure.
They're Brandon Marshall away. They're one Brandon Marshall away. Listen, I'm telling the guy, just sign me, and I'll be able to, you know. Yeah. You know, that's all you got to do.
A few inches taller would be perfect.
I love it. I also like the look the two of you shot yourself as if you know, but I'm curious to know just from a broader standpoint.
In sports, I mean, last year the Bears were playing great, and then Jay got hurt. So the key when you have a good team is staying healthy. And for a lot of years when we had Michael Jordan, he stayed healthy, and we won championships. We've had great teams. Derrick got hurt. If we stay healthy, there's no reason. I mean, I would put us up there in our conference with Miami and Indiana and Brooklyn, and any of us could win, come out of the East. But it's really going to be who is the healthiest team. So I like our chances.
And Tom, this rebuilding process that Theo Epstein and you and others have been involved in now, we've finished the second full year of that on the field. Where are we in that process as you look out and think about the Cubs' long-term prospects?
Well, we're 2 years into it.
Yeah. Did I say 2?
Yeah,
okay.
no, that's right. That's what I mean. We're 2 years into it. The fact is that it's a process that the Cubs needed to go through. I think we'd spent many years really ignoring, not ignoring, but minimizing the amount of resources and energy put into our minor leagues. We spent less on bringing in amateur players than other teams did. We just kind of neglected the most important element of winning, and that's building from within. And so
that's
not
the
only
foundation.
The foundation for future success with the team, and it really wasn't just in terms of players, also facilities. I mean, over time, our facilities in the spring training became basically the worst in Arizona. Now they'll be the best. We had basically the worst in Dominican. Now they'll be among the best. So we're just putting all those pieces back together. And in terms of where we are, is like I think every year what you're going to see is a younger, more exciting team come into Wrigley. And this year you're going to come out and you'll see some familiar faces, some good young players, but then we'll add to them over the course of the season. And you don't know which players they'll be, but we know we have a lot coming. And you'll just see that progress every step of the way.
Let me close with each of you by looking downfield a bit, pardon the pun there, but looking out, say, 25 years, and not for you as the owner of the Cubs per se, but as somebody who's an owner in Major League Baseball, Tom. What's the biggest challenge you think that's facing Major League Baseball franchises and the direction in which professional sports may be headed over the next 20, 25
Well, I think the biggest problem in baseball is the wrong teams keep winning the World Series. Obviously, I think you start with the fact, I think baseball's strong. I mean, it's a family event. It's a sport that you go to when you want to talk to the people you're with. And it's passed on from generations. So I think we have a very strong foundation in baseball. And attendance, was off a tick last year, but it's still pretty strong. I think that our biggest challenge is just all the other types of entertainment that people have now. I think you just have to make sure that you put a compelling product on the field and that people, always have that same value for the experience you're offering them. And they have there's a lot of competition. There's 900 channels on television. There's more and more sports every year. You just have to make sure that you keep providing that value for your fans.
And Michael, for you, I mean, a lot of it's been made about NBA, basketball, and sort of falling off in terms of popularity compared to the heights of the Showtime era in the 90s and beyond. What's the next, 2 decades look like?
Well, I think the NBA is primed because, look, I grew up, baseball was my first love, loved the White Sox long before my dad got involved in the White Sox. But now, if you go worldwide, there's not as many people playing baseball as basketball. Basketball, I would rank up there. It's obviously soccer is the most popular sport, but basketball is a global sport now. So anywhere you go, I mean, the NBA just played game. We were in Rio. The Bulls were in Rio last week. First time NBA's been in Rio for a game. 14,000 people. I don't know how they're going to have the Olympics there because it was a 2-hour traffic jam just to get to the arena. But we're playing in China. We're playing in Europe. I think what you're going to see eventually is you're going to see a European league. I think you're going to see a team in London at some point, maybe even before you see a team in another city, because I think London is a trip that, have you played out in London?
No, I haven't.
But it's not that long of I don't think it's that much longer of a flight than if you go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I think you'll see teams, I think you'll see an NBA Europe League, and eventually they'll play the NBA United States League.
Do you see global expansion at all for Major League Baseball, perhaps even moving south?
I don't think it's in the current plans.
Yeah.
I think we've got some ways to go before that's there.
Brandon, I want to close with you in thinking about the next 20 years. The NFL right now, and its athletes, especially its veteran athletes and retired players, have been talking a lot about some of the injuries and the problems with concussions and so forth. Rules have changed as a result in some cases. What effect do you think that's going to have on the game as we know it today? Will it continue to exist?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the big question. When you look at keeping the integrity of the sport and really taking care of the shield, the thing that's on the forefront is player safety. So when you look at the concussion issues, they're still there. even though they settled. But that problem isn't going anywhere. And from a business standpoint, this is not, something I talk about every day. But from a player standpoint, it's going to be tough. I'm looking at it from a player standpoint. My game has changed. The way I play my game, it's changed, and I get the question all the time. Will I let my kids play football? And it's hard for me to say this because football's done so much for me and my family. It's like I said, it's the start. I'm gonna look back and say thank you for starting this amazing run, and but I don't think I'll ever. Well, I can't not let them play, but I'm going to do my best.
Let them play basketball.
I'm going to do I'm going to do my best. When they come out, they're going to have a golf club. They're going to have a basketball. Baseball players get paid really well, so So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to really involve them in other things, and hopefully they make a good decision. But it's going to be scary.
If they made the football decision, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I'm going to let them, as of right now, I'll respect that, but, it's tough, I'm seeing some of these injuries, and it's scary. You look at Johnny Knox, we're not even talking about the concussion. This guy almost died on the field, broke his back, and it's just a violent sport. But at the same time, it's like the gift and the curse. It's giving so many of us young men, opportunities to do things that we wouldn't be able to do and see the world. So for me, from a player standpoint, one of the things I want to do on our bye week is go to the NFL office, sit down with the commissioner, and see how we can start teaming up on some things, because it's not just the NFL's fault what's going on with some of our guys. I do think we need to take ownership in our own lives. But I think there's some things that we can do to really help the issue.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for everything you do on the field and off. Brandon Marshall, Michael Reinsdorf, Tom Ricketts, thank you so much. Round of applause for all three gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.